Hey everybody, this is Karen Byron with Exit Realty in Polson, Montana with another Title Talk Tuesday. Again, we have the resident expert here, DeeDee Blaney over here on the other side. She's the Northwest Montana VP of Escrow Operations for First American Title Company. And what are we going to talk about today? Not just something that's COVID related, but something that was really brought to the forefront because of it, powers of attorney. There's such important documents. I used them when I was in the military. I've used them recently when I was working overseas as a civilian. I just used it when one of my parents was hospitalized. So DeeDee is the resident expert. So I'm going to let DeeDee take it away. Talk about powers of attorney.
Good morning. I wanted to touch on power of attorney because a lot of times our office doesn't find out that a power of attorney is going to be used until we're getting close to closing. Mm-hmm. And so the sooner we can find out that a power of attorney is needed, the better. We've got to ask a number of questions. When you think of power of attorney as a title company, we think of what claims have gone on: lender fraud, elder abuse. So lots of crazy stories out there for people that maybe forged a power of attorney. And so we do ask a lot of what could be invasive questions, but it's to protect the vested owner, of course, ourselves, lenders, realtors, and the general consumer.
What types of powers of attorney are there that you would be concerned with?
What we look for is either a property-specific power of attorney, which a lot of times that's what a lender may require, mm-hmm. and it's specific to the property in question. It might be a general power of attorney, which we can accept. Each of them can be a little bit different, so we really need to review them. Some of them may be specific for certain cases. They may have limitations. So for example, I could assign a power of attorney to you to sign for me only with regards to real estate, or maybe it's everything but real estate. And so we just need to be aware of those situations. And then also, is it a durable power of attorney? And durable power of attorneys come into play if someone becomes incompetent to sign. And they're very specific that way. So if we have a property specific or a general power of attorney that I've assigned over to you, Karen, and then I become incompetent, then that power of attorney is no longer in effect. So as people,
the property owner, right?
Correct. So people kind of need to think through, why do I need this power of attorney today versus is it something that I want to be able to use in the future? That's a question you definitely want to talk to an attorney about, and they can help you navigate all the different scenarios.
So what happens if the person that has the power of attorney, let's say I have a power of attorney and I pass away and somebody's trying to sell my property?
That power of attorney dies when the principal passes away. And that's a great question. Years ago, when I worked out of our Missoula office, we had a closing with a seller, and the wife was power of attorney, and we'd reviewed the power of attorney. She came in, and come to find out the husband had actually passed away. And someone in our title department had recognized the name. And so we were able to catch it. But that brings up a point, are we asking all the correct questions when we find out there is a power of attorney? So what we will ask is, why is it being used? Maybe someone's just traveling and they don't have access to a power of attorney. Or is it because they're incompetent? Is it because they've passed away? Maybe they're in the military. Mm-hmm. So each one of those has, will let us know what additional questions we need to ask. So when I find out there's a power of attorney, I want to talk to the principal. So if their principal is traveling, maybe they're an over-the-road trucker, I want to be able to talk with them, make sure the power of attorney is still in effect, that they haven't revoked it, and make sure that they know this property is being refinanced, this property is being purchased or sold, and you're aware the power of attorney is being used. Let's say it's someone that is incompetent, then we want to make sure we've got a durable power of attorney. And the next thing we'll look at is, was that client of sound mind when they signed the power of attorney? So the situation that happened not too terrible long ago, there's a gal in a nursing home, and she signed a couple of power of attorneys in the nursing home. the power of attorney that she signed was just specific for medical reasons.
Mhm.
And then we had a doctor's note that said she was incompetent at the time. And so the daughter wanted to know, well, can we have her sign a new durable power of attorney? Well, I've got a doctor's note that says she's no longer of sound mind. And so, I have to have her chat with an attorney and look at setting up a conservatorship to take care of her mom. And it's unfortunate that sometimes those things come up when, we had talked a little bit earlier today. Sometimes you don't know you need a power of attorney until right now I need it. And now what kind of a power of attorney do I need? And is it feasible? Can we move forward with that?
Yeah, you don't know you need a power of attorney until you need one, unfortunately. So it's always great to have forethought in that. Now, can people in the military get a power of attorney for someone? No, because I've purchased homes even before all COVID, with sight unseen. I had seen pictures because I was, stationed in another state, and I purchased a home in another one. Can a power of attorney be used in a situation like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, whether it's military or not, but let's say it is military. If they're stateside and they're just unable to sign, we just want to talk again to that principle. But let's say they're overseas in a combat zone. If that's the case, then we need to actually talk with their commanding officer 24 hours prior to recording to make sure that they're not missing in action. Because there again, if that principal passes away, the power of attorney passes away with that person.
Interesting. So
and
it
that
adds
can be
a layer.
It does, and that can be a bit of a juggle trying to make sure we meet that time frame with that commanding officer. They've got a lot on their plate, and the last thing they really want to do is talk with us, which we understand.
And sometimes it's hard to get a hold of them where there's time differences, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, what about like an investment property? How would a power of attorney work for that?
As long as the power of attorney was either specific or if it was just general for anything, you can use it for an investment property. You can use it for your personal property, whatever you choose. And that's really what we need to think about when we're assigning power of attorney. What do I want it to be used for?
Right. So could an investor assign it to a realtor for just a specific purpose and allow that realtor to have that power of attorney, right?
They can. One of the things that I will ask is that a conflict of interest? So does the realtor have something to gain by the sale of this property? And so my suggestion usually is try to find somebody that isn't associated with the transaction, just so that that's not a question that should ever come up.
That's interesting, because I didn't think of that, when investors are out of town and are looking at property and they don't know anybody here, they just want to buy it, and invest. Usually the only person they have is the realtor. So we'd have to find somebody else.
Yep.
Who has no vested financial interest.
Yep. Or look at, a different closing option. Is that a remote online notary, or is that a certified signer mobile notary?
Interesting. So what DeeDee's talking about, we talked about 2 weeks ago in our Title Talk Tuesday with the remote notary. So you can refer back to that conversation.
When we talk about investment property, we then need to wonder, is this person buying it individually, or is it in an entity or a trust? So if you are a member of an LLC, a limited liability company, that limited liability company can't assign power of attorney. So only the human can assign that power over. An entity doesn't have the power to do that. The caveat to that is we have seen some trusts set up that have specific power of attorney language in them. And so that would be the caveat. It's not always or never.
It's interesting. It's not one way. Nothing fits anybody else's scenario. They're very scenario specific. Is there anything else about powers of attorney that we need to know about?
Making sure we know about it, that we get a copy to review, and that original needs to be out there, because that original needs to record in the county in which the property is located.
Awesome. DeeDee, thank you for that great information.
You bet.
DeeDee and I will be back here in about 2 more weeks because we have more subjects to talk about. The next one is going to be one she just touched on, which is entities. So stay tuned for that. We'll let you know when that's coming on board. And I want to thank you, DeeDee. If you have any questions, DeeDee's information will be wherever I post this. There's going to be a Facebook posting, Instagram posting, LinkedIn, on my blog. I will have DeeDee's information on there, and you can feel free to reach out to her or any one of her staff who are very well educated on this. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, DeeDee.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Hold on. Cheers.
Cheers.
Have a great one.